I interviewed Clint Hill. Okay, I don't know if you know Clint Hill. He was the Secret Service agent under 4 presidents, and he was a main Secret Service agent for Jackie Kennedy. And I asked him a lot of different questions, and that till today, if you go on YouTube, you type in JFK Assassination, or you type in Clint Hill, it's the first video that pops up. It's getting a lot of commentary right now with Clint Hill. I said, listen, so many people don't believe the story on what happened. And one, people don't believe the story of the angles. Well, no, it's this guy. No, this is who did and that who. Forget about that part for a second. I'm not trying to ask you, what angle was it and what's the real story. Here's what I'm trying to ask you. When the Kennedys were coming up, his father was not the most straight. He was Joseph Kennedy. He was a big part of the market manipulation. I think when Roosevelt hired him to bring him in and say, listen, what do we need to do here? And they came out with fingerprinting for licensing. The guy came out with SEC. So he was very much involved in 100%. Knowing how to manipulate the marketplace. He was involved with the mob based on some of the stories you read about. Strong personality. So then you read and say, well, the mob helped Kennedy get elected. I don't know that. I'm asking you. So my first question is the answer to that yes? And 2, once Kennedy got elected, the follow-up is, it's been said that once he got elected, they tried to distance themselves from the mob to look like they were good, so nothing would happen. The mob got upset about it, and when they got upset about it because they couldn't fulfill their commitments they made to the mob said, we got to do something about it, and they went about doing what they did to hire who they hired, to shoot him, and then et cetera. When he walked off, the mob killed him. Now, this is some of the stories. Obviously, a lot of this is conspiracy, but one of the best conspiracies to read about is Kennedy. People are so fascinated by it. Having said that, what do you know about the JFK situation there?
Well, understand, my father is through that whole era, and many of the guys that I knew were through that whole era. So all I ever heard, and that I know to be true, okay, and there's no upside in me saying this. I'm not writing a book about it, nothing. But there's no question that Joe Kennedy was involved with it. He was a bootlegger.
There's no question.
No question.
Okay.
And I know for a fact that somebody wanted to kill Joe Kennedy during those times because I heard that he was robbing money, wasn't doing the right thing, and his life was spared. Okay?
This is 40s? This is 30s?
This is in the 40s, 50s,
okay.
During that era.
Got it.
He was a bootlegger. You're not a bootlegger unless you're dealing with us guys. That's it. Okay, no question also, okay, that through his father, John Kennedy we wanted him in the White House, and he was a connection as far as we were concerned. So yes, through Chicago, through Louisiana, they did help him get elected.
They did help him get elected.
Union votes and so on.
You
and
know
so
about this.
I know this for a fact.
Okay, got it.
And now, the government's never going to want anybody to know this. They're going to call me a liar and all that kind of stuff, but that's the truth, Patrick. And as far as the assassination, I mean, come on. Did Jack Ruby come out of nowhere? I mean, he had all of a sudden these mob ties didn't mean anything. If you had mob ties with me, they would want to say it all over the world. Oh, you're connected with the mob. All of a sudden, Ruby, who was connected with the mob, now they're saying he wasn't, They never want it to be known that the mob had a hand in that assassination because it makes them look horrible. The government doesn't want anybody to know that. But, I mean, I've heard that consistently throughout my whole tenure in that life, all the time. Giancana in Chicago and
So when he got killed, you're saying the assassination is linked back to the mob?
Yes. Now, again, it's been said, it's not true, he's a liar. I have no upside in saying this, other than this is what I know to be true throughout my whole time in that life. I heard it from my father, I heard it from everybody that I know that was in that era. I was there, I was younger, obviously. I mean, I wasn't coming up at that time, but it was shortly after. I mean, I got recruited in the 70s. It was a couple of years after he was killed. So that story was fresh, no doubt.
So let me ask you, as dirty as politics was back then, how dirty is it today? More or less?
Patrick, I have never, now understand something. Yeah, did I see them, when we were on the street, we understood the government a lot of times crossed the lines with us. We got it, but you know what? We were criminals. So in a way, can you justify it? I don't think so. I don't think the government is ever supposed to act illegally. Okay, they're supposed to abide by the law. We were criminals, we broke the law, but they're supposed to use the laws effectively and properly to get anybody. That's my feeling. But you know what? All right, we were criminals and they crossed the line every once in a while. Okay. I have never in my lifetime seen the level of corruption that is going on today in the political arena.
Come on, Michael.
Patrick, I kid you not.
More today than before.
Hunter, absolutely. And at a level that I can't believe. I mean, look, I've experienced, this is my life experience. You gotta understand, I've been indicted 5 times. I've had 2 federal racketeering cases. I've had 2 state racketeering cases. I've been in front of the Supreme Court on constitutional issues in my dad's case. I've been in front of the appellate court so many times. I've been more grand juries than you can imagine. This has been my life. I understand it. I know the law. And I am telling you, I've never seen the law violated by people in power like I'm seeing now. It's to a point where I can't even watch it anymore. It's terrible because it's bad for all of America. Look, we cannot let our political authorities cross the lines of what's legally correct. We can't let them do that because it's a threat to everyone at that point in time. And I'm not being biased. I have many friends in law enforcement, many friends, and they're honest, calm. They'll tell you straight out, we don't approve of what's going on. Retired FBI agents that I know now are sickened to what they see now.
Wow.
I mean, come on, look, even Comey, what's going on in his book tour, I mean, the things that he's saying that are coming out of his mouth, it's an embarrassment to the FBI, in my opinion. Because there's a lot of hardworking, honest, legitimate agents that do their job. And a guy like this, in my opinion, is tainting everything else. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible. I've never seen this level of corruption.